Hello everyone, this is Eve, and I'm coming to you with In Love with a Maniac, a Homicidal Liu X-Reader by Midnight2662. We're going to be starting with Can Things Get Any Worse? Part 2. Second person POV. Ryan, please go inside, Jeff said. Oh, okay, he replied, quite confused, but then went inside. Before you knew it, parents were screaming, you all went outside, and what you saw scared whatever happiness you had out of you. Randy and Jeff were fighting while Keith and Troy held guns up to the crowd to make sure nobody interfered. Hey, quit that, you screamed, which did nothing but get a gun pointed at you. Everyone was terrified. You were more worried about Jeff, but you knew you were trying to get out and stop the fight out of instinct, which got your parents to grab your arms and hold you back. You heard someone call 911 right as the fight was going inside the house. When you stepped inside, the strong smell of something burning filled your nostrils along with another horrible smell, but you couldn't quite put your finger on what it might be. That's when it happened. Jeff came rolling down the steps in flames, his screams piercing your ears. You were speechless. The unpleasant smell almost transformed into a taste and entered your mouth. You just wished that was all a dream and almost convinced yourself of that too. But before you knew it, Jane had run in from across the street and started trying to put Jeff out, but eventually fell unconscious. You tried to go and pick up the fire extinguisher, but it was pushed back by terrified guests. Billy grabbed your leg and hugged it with tears already making their way off of his face and towards the floor. I can't find Mom or Dad, he cried to you. Where is his parents, you thought to yourself. You began to feel a little lightheaded, but ignored it as soon as you heard sirens approach the house. And soon enough, paramedics broke through the wooden door and took the now unconscious and burnt Jeff to the ambulance on a stretcher. You didn't know what to do. Eventually, Billy's mom and dad came through the crowd and told everyone to go home. Nobody bothered to see what happened to Randy, Keith, or Troy. You shakily walked back to your house with your parents on either side of you, and you were on the edge of having a panic attack right there. Lou was in jail, and Jeff just got set on fire, literally. Your dad opened the door to your house right as the news crew got there, and as soon as you guys saw them come, you all immediately rushed inside, locking the door. Now was not the time for this. You had practically flopped on the couch, still shook and processing everything that had just happened. A tear rolled down your cheek, and many more threatened to follow, and you felt helpless and dizzy. And while the whole world seemed to be spinning around you like you were the rose in a ring around the rosy, you heard your parents' voices in the distance before darkness covered you whole. Chapter It Got Worse. Author's POV. Ryan woke up on the couch to her parents watching the news. She didn't pay attention until she heard the name Benjamin Lawrence being mentioned. She looked up, and life wasn't done with her when she heard what was going on. The newscaster was saying how he was found dead in a nearby lake. Based on the autopsy and information the police was given, someone had forced him into that lake. Her parents were watching from the kitchen and ran over when they saw tears begin to run down her face. She sobbed, and not quietly either. She lost Ben, Jeff's in the hospital, and Lou's in jail. What's next? Ryan's POV. No, not him too. I see my parents coming to my side, and I feel someone start to rub my back. I hear their voices, but not what they're saying. I end up grabbing one of my parents, and I hugged them. 3 of my friends almost gone in 3 days. I covered my ears, not being able to hear any more about Ben. Turn it off, I mumbled. What was that, honey? I heard what I assumed was my dad say. Turn it off, I wailed. I probably said that a little too loud, and I heard silence take over instead of the noise of the TV, and the front door opened. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Ryan, what's wrong? The sister says. I look at the time and see that it says 2:43 p.m. I didn't even know that they were at school. What were you, where were you guys? I asked. At school, Brother says. I was confused. I look at our family calendar and I see it's the next day. The party was yesterday? Shouldn't I be at school? I asked. No, we told the school you weren't feeling well. You shouldn't go anyway. Speaking of which, who was that boy on the news? Dad asked. It made me cry even harder. Brayden, my mom practically yelled. He was my friend. I managed to get out. My sister came over and hugged me, and I hugged back gratefully. Author's POV. Ryan's family tried to cheer her up all day. She appreciated their efforts, but it didn't work. A bit later, the sister and brother wanted to have a sleepover with Ryan, saying it'll cheer her up, but she couldn't decline. Sister's POV. We planned the sleepover fully. Brother is making popcorn, and I'm setting up the living room. Ryan went out to check the mail, and Mommy and Daddy had to go upstairs because apparently they got a very important call. I tried convincing Brother that we should have a tea party, but he replied saying, ew, no. I heard Ryan open the front door again, and by that time I had all the blankets and pillows out. We were going to make a fort, but decided against it. Mama was going to pick up pizza after the call, and I looked up from the blankets and saw a brother dragging Ryan. We sat down and decided on a movie, and I turned off the lights, and the 3 of us sat down and watched her favorite movie. Ryan's POV. I really did appreciate my family's effort to cheer me up. It meant so much, yet I couldn't feel the gratitude. I know it sounds strange. It does to me, even. I don't know why. Usually I would feel so grateful, but right now I just don't. I don't feel anything except this hard feeling like a void. Like, whatever, time to eat pizza. It was around sunset now. That movie was somehow extremely long, and I barely even tasted the pizza. Really. Why in? Huh? I was snapped out of my thoughts. You were zoning out, Dad said. I noticed all of my family members looking at me with concern. Oh, I'm sorry, I said before sighing. Dinner was quiet after that, aside from my brother and Mom trying to cheer up the mood. It's not hard to tell where my brother got his positivity from. After dinner, I cleaned up my plate quietly, and Mom offered to get it, but I told her it was fine. My sister had already put in another movie and dragging all of us into the living room as we all watched another movie. My sister is really good at picking out long movies, and how does she do it? By now it's almost dark, and it took my siblings about 30 minutes to set up. I tried helping, but they wouldn't let me. The first movie was around 3 hours long, and by then it was 5:30 or 5:50-ish. We ate dinner, then finished this movie, and now it's around 8:02. Wow, a lot of time has passed. I knew my siblings had to go to bed soon, or so I thought. Mommy, my brother said. Yes, darling, Mom responded. I'm tired, he said. Well, go ahead and go to bed. I'm pretty sure we all have to go somewhere tomorrow, Dad butted in. Me and my sister exchanged glances, and I could see she was just as confused as I was. He's right. Off to bed, you three, Mom said. Okay, fine, my sister pouted. We laid on the blankets laid on the floor, and it was surprisingly comfy. The lights turned off, and I heard footsteps going up the steps. My brother was on one side of me, and my sister was on the other, and after a bit, darkness took over my vision. Chapter It's Not As Bad Anymore. Author's POV. Guys, time to get up. We have somewhere special to go today, the siblings' mom sung. Where? Brother groaned tiredly. Somewhere, now get up, she sung again. Wyan, however, wasn't ready to get up yet, not after yesterday. Her sister and brother finally got up, making her the last. Come on, you'll love it, I swear, their dad said. Fine, she grumbled after a while. She finally got up groggily, still half asleep. She walked to her bedroom. A little behind her brother and sister, her outfit for the day was quite simple. She wore a t-shirt and high-waisted jeans with neutral-colored boots. She fixed her hair and put a ponytail holder on her wrist just in case. She went downstairs and saw her dad helping her brother tie his laces, and her sister already had her laces tied up. Sissy, she yelled the second Wyan came down. What is it? I did it again. I tied my own shoestrings, she screamed at Wyan happily. That's great. Maybe we can get Mom and Dad and brother to celebrate this, Wyan said, trying to at least sound happy. She's a mastermind at fooling at least some people. Everyone eventually headed out to the door and into the car. Serena drove, and Brayden sat in the front passenger seat. And in the back, Wyan sat on the far left, the sister sat in the middle, and brother sat on the far right. The car started and pulled out of the driveway and onto the road. After a bit, a hospital came into view with a few other buildings. Wyan lifted her head, which was laying on top of the car door and near the window. She thought nothing of it until they pulled into the parking lot, specifically the inpatient building. A familiar car was in the parking lot, and she couldn't put her finger on whose it was. They pulled into a parking space, and the car turned off very quietly. Another familiar car pulled into a parking space nearby. The family got out, and soon they heard a teenage voice yell, Wyan! And Wyan and her siblings turned around and saw Jane running towards them, and she stopped in front of them out of breath. Jane? Wyan said, surprised. She didn't seem too fond of the woods. Yeah, hey, she said, finally catching her breath. You heard about what happened, I'm guessing? Wyan asked Jane. Nope, I actually came running over with a fire extinguisher. Really? Yeah, honestly, I've been having nightmares about seeing Jeff on fire, and every time I look into Billy's yard, I still see that fight taking place, Jane whispered. She trailed off. She shivered. Well, how about we all go inside? Serena stated. Sure. Wait, why are we going inside a hospital? I have to wait for my parents, they're coming. Oh, okay. The many responses were heard, and Jane's family soon caught up. Nobody answered poor the brother's question. The adults walked in and up to the check-in desk while the teenagers and kids sat down in the waiting area. There was quite a line. After only a few minutes of being at a dead stop, his sister whined loudly. It's taking forever. It's only been a few minutes, whined deadpanned. Her sister's unusual and emotionless tone silenced her sister. Finally, the adults got up to the front and got Jeff's room number and left so the next person in line could move up. Come on, guys and gals, Jane's dad said in a funny tone. Everyone stood up and headed towards the hospital doors. Who are we going to see in here anyways? Wyan asked. Oh, you'll see, Serena sung, and Wyan almost groaned aloud. Wyan's POV. We keep walking through the hospital, looking at signs hanging from the ceiling for directions to I don't know where. I wish someone would tell me. The talking between our small group is minimal, and I sort of like it, yet feel uncomfortable with it. I feel like none of this is real, and I keep listening to footsteps as we continue to walk. Wyan, watch out, I hear someone say as I run straight into the wall. Ow. Are you okay? Jane asks me. Yeah, thanks, I respond. No prob, she says. I regain my posture, and we all keep walking until we reach an elevator. Jane's mom presses the up button on the elevator when we wait. And before I know it, the elevator opens in front of us, some people getting out, and one was in a wheelchair. They walk past us to wherever they're going. I step into the elevator with everyone and ask what floor, and my dad responds with 3, love. He always has been that kind of lovey-dovey dad that gives nicknames, and usually I'd say, Dad, really? But now I just don't care. I press the 3 button on the elevator and hold on to some of the railing inside. I feel us go up as I glance around, and after a few minutes, the door opens and we walk out and other people go into the elevator. More walking and sign reading, here we come. That is the end of those 2 chapters. The chapter after this one is called, let me say, Is He Going to Be Okay? I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think about this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!